My name is Heather Duncan, and I am the artist with Duncan House Creative. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm going to walk you through a tutorial to watercolor these aged wood slices. I actually don't know what to name these. They're just like slices of wood, I guess. I love them though. I never thought I would love painting slices of wood so much, but I do. I love it. I think it's really interesting too, just the story that you could really paint with these watercolors. Like maybe you would do this with a partner, and you know, each ring is for how many years you've been together, or maybe it's reminiscent of a place that you've lived or an anniversary that you've had of significance. I think that you could really use this project to be a pretty significant piece for you or someone you love. So anyways, the more I think about this piece and the more I've painted it, the more I really have grown in love with it. I really love to paint this. So I'm so thankful that you're here with me today, and I can't wait to jump in with you. All right, let's get to it. Before we begin, I'm going to go over our supplies with you. You're going to need a watercolor brush. I'm using a size 4 round brush here. And then tonight I'm going to be using this really cute palette called the Complexion Palette by Art Philosophy. Oh my goodness, it's so lovely. It comes in this cute little tin. You can totally blend out in these blending trays. It has wonderful little wells of paint and even a little, look at that little finger hold. So if I wanted to paint with it in my hand, I could do that. I don't prefer that method, but some people do. Okay, you'll need a clean water well, watercolor paper, paper towel, and then this is really cute. This came with the paint palette too. It just gives you a little place to show what color each of the pots are. It's almost like a little menu, a little color menu. How cute is that? So anyways, yeah, those are our supplies. Let's go over our steps for our project. For our project, we're going to start with the perimeter of our piece of wood, okay? We might even use a pencil for that to, just so you don't feel like you have to make a mistake there, or if you do make a mistake, you have no pressure. After that, we're going to blend out the ring, okay? We're going to use just plain water and kind of blend that ring out. Then we're going to do the exact same thing again, where we paint kind of a circle, then we blend it out, then paint another circle, blend it out, paint another circle, and so forth. We're going to make concentric circles. After we do that, we're going to let it dry just a bit. Then we're going to use our wet on dry method and add these darker shades of color within the blended parts of our wood, okay? And then after we do that, we're going to come in and add just a really light wash of gray into the white surfaces of our rings. And then I even put kind of a little shadow around it, just as like the bark or whatever. But honestly, go where you feel led, okay? Let your creativity lead the way on this. Here's one example that I've done. I actually have another example behind this, just so you can see the difference between the two that I did. This one was my first one, this one was my second one. So, you know, they're not going to come out identical every time, okay? Yours is going to look a lot different than mine too. I think the biggest takeaway is just try to make sure you're in kind of a circular image instead of like an oblong, or yeah, you want to kind of remain in a circle. So, all right, let's get to it. First, I'm going to tape down my paper just so it's not moving around on me. And then I'm going to use a pencil to draw the perimeter of my wood. Now, I'm having my paper as vertical. I have my paper vertical right here, but you could totally do this horizontally, okay? Don't feel tied to that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of draw a circle, but it's going to be a little bit rough, okay? And then I'm going to draw a dot in the middle of the circle, because that's going to kind of be where the center is. And then I'm going to draw a kind of slice, like a long kind of, it's like a Batman slice or something. I'm going to draw one there, and then I might draw just a tiny one here, and it's really it's pointing towards the center. Okay, so this is aged wood. It's not freshly cut wood. So I have two here. Maybe my wood has split a bit. Okay, so I have my perimeter drawn. I have my little slices put in. And now I'm going to pick up some brown. And I'm going to use, let me see what brown I'm going to use. I'm going to use this middle brown here, which is called Bear. It's the shade, it says 91 Bear. I'm going to use that. And I'm just going to paint a wet on dry around my pencil line. Okay, do you see that? It's very, and also make sure you wake your paints up. My paints were already kind of woken up from an earlier tutorial I did. But you want to make sure your paints are really good and wet. I'm going to go in my slice, go out. Make sure you have pretty good water on your brush too. And notice how even though I'm in a circle here, I'm not completely perfect. You know, this is a natural occurring thing. It doesn't need to be perfect. Then I'm going to just do my dot in the center that tells me where my center is. Okay, now I'm cleaning my brush off. Look, no paint on that when I dab it. And I'm just going to get some water. And I'm going to take that water and I'm just going to paint and kind of wash that paint down and make a ring. Okay, like so. And this is just water. I am only using water here, and I'm going to pull this in just a little bit more right there. This is actually a little darker than I anticipated, especially over here. And then look, over here it's not as dark, so you just never know kind of how this is going to happen, but it looks so good already. Okay. I'm going to try, I'm trying to make sure that this is the same, I want these rings to kind of match up if they were to meet each other, you know. So this palette reminds me of coffee. I feel like we could really paint a good image of coffee with this palette every time I paint with it. Okay, I'm gonna pick up some of that Bear again, and I'm just going to go in for another ring. Okay, be careful not to touch the water on the ring above. I'm just going to come around, and I'm going to leave a little bit of white because I'm going to fill that white in later, so you don't have to feel really stressed if that white is large. Don't worry about it. I'm just going to do that. Now my brown touched right there. It's totally okay. Okay, I'm going to dry my brush off, make sure it's clean, and then I'm going to come in with some water, and I'm just going to blend that out. I'm just going to blend that out. Ah, I love brown. It's such a gorgeous color. So, I feel like brown is misrepresented too. People really lean heavily into black and gray. Brown tones are so beautiful. There we go. Okay, and the same over here. Just going to blend that out with some water, just very lightly. Make sure that's rounded. Okay. Just like that. great. It's looking good so far. And see, I have some little irregularities. Don't worry about that. Like, really try not. We have this like tendency as humans to just like desire symmetry or to desire like perfection. Let's just be honest. And you really, sometimes you have to fight that urge of just like making something super perfect. Like breaking out your ruler or your, what makes a circle? What's that tool? Not a protractor. Compass? Is it a compass? With the needle and stuff? I think it's a compass. My assistant over here is not up on his math tools, I can tell you that right now. He's looking at me like, I have no idea what you're talking about. He said compass or protractor. I feel like protractors you use for triangles, not circles. I'm almost 100% sure it is a compass. Maybe you can comment down below and tell me. I'm pretty sure it's a compass. Okay, one more circle. One more circle. There we go. And then come and pull that around. Oh, guys. Looking good. And then we're going to do the middle. And for the middle, I might actually just use water and take that circle that I already made and just put water on it and kind of blend that out. And then we can kind of come in and add some stuff on top of it with our wet on dry. Okay, all of my layers are done. I'm gonna let this dry really quick. Actually, it doesn't have a lot of need to dry, but I'm gonna let this dry for a second and then I'm gonna come back on top with some wet on dry layers, okay? For our wet on dry, I'm going to use a little bit of black and then just a little bit of a different color of brown. So maybe this 24 Tika, which is 3 in for black, this one right here. And I'm not going to do complete circles, okay? I'm just going to do some little highlights of circles. So I'll show you. So if I take my brown and I'm going to wake it up here, and get it pretty good and wet. Now there's still some areas of my rings that are wet. I'm going to avoid those areas, okay? And I'm just going to kind of take that and kind of come around as if there were some rings in the wood. So do you see? I'm not doing a complete circle. I'm just taking that and I'm just kind of doing some pieces. And as you can see where it's dried, it almost looks like several different layers of circles inside also. Okay, I'm gonna come around this one. Here, and I might even come around right there. Okay, just like that. So there's my brown, and now I'm gonna come in with some black. And I really don't want this to be super heavy black. And anytime that you're lightening a color with watercolor, you're just going to add water to it. Okay, so if you're like, I don't want this to be super black, but I want it to be dark, I can just kind of come in and fill that. That's still just a teeny bit wet. And I'm just going to kind of add some little, oops, that one was, see how that spread right there? That's okay. It does not bother me. But it's not what I was going for. Kind of trying to avoid some of those areas that are wet. Just kind of put in some black, okay? And honestly, if we get a little bit of darkness in there, like some of these little wet on wet kind of things, it looks good. So don't worry about it. Maybe add some on purpose. Just where the wood has aged. Because remember, this is aged wood. Okay, and then I might do just a couple here inside. And with your watercolor brush, you can use that tip to really get a real fine, narrow line. And so, yeah, it looks great. All right, now we're going to come in the inside on our white lines. And I'm going to use this black that I pulled, and I'm going to make a really fine gray. I want to make sure you can see that. So it's basically just a really watered down black. Okay? And I'm just going to come and paint some of these little white areas with this gray, just to take the stark contrast off of that. And I'm not, look at how I'm even overlapping some of that. Like, I'm not being super, whatchamacallit, like, I'm not being super careful. Okay, I like the kind of organic nature of it. Okay, it even touched right there, totally fine with that. Okay, come in here, add some gray here. Okay, now we're going to add kind of a little shadow into our little pieces. So I'm actually going to make that gray just a little bit darker. And I'm going to come, might be too dark. There, and kind of come in here, and I'm just adding that gray to one edge of my slice. Okay, and then I'm going to come around here and just add kind of a bark, so to speak. Start around here. And this is just so it's not so, I feel like the shadow kind of gives it more of an organic feel. Now, my shadow is on this side, so I'm gonna come over here and kind of do the same over on that. I want to create the same kind of shadow. Down, around, like so. And you can see where this brown paint is kind of bleeding into that gray, and that's what I want. I want that to be the case. Okay. All right, and then I might come in just with a little bit more black while this is drying, and just do some really fine Okay, you guys, our aged wood slice. I guess that's what you would call it. I don't know. You can name this whatever you want. I don't care. But it's finished. Do you want to see it? It's still a little bit wet, so I'm not going to hold it up for long because I don't want it to drip. But there you go. Isn't she beautiful? I'll show you compared to the other one I did. So definitely two different, almost, I wonder if I even used two different colors. I might have, but that's okay. Two different types of trees, right? Yes. Two different colors of bark. I don't know, whatever. But gorgeous. And then here's a third. So you could do a whole study on aged wood slices. 1, 2, 3. So cool. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I had so much fun. Will you please share your photos with me and tag me? I would love, love, love. Tag Duncan House Creative. I would love to see them. They bring so much joy to me every time anyone shares. It just, it just warms my heart. I used to be, or I am still an art teacher in the community, but I used to teach classes in person. Now with COVID, I haven't been because we live in Washington, D.C., and it's just not to where we can do that right now. And I just miss making art with people in the same room. So will you please share your art with me? I would love to see it. All right. Thank you guys, and we'll see you here next time.